Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Ninja Turtle, and today, man, finally, after delaying her for so long, I'm supposed to have made these Harleys probably months ago, maybe even last year. I planned on doing this, and I finally got around to getting it done, getting her done. Custom Harley Quinn action figures made from Marvel Legends figures. We have the Injustice 2 Harley Quinn, we have the Harley Quinn animated series Harley Quinn, and classic Harley Quinn, which would be from the Batman animated series, slash, she did eventually make it into the comics wearing this as well. But this was kind of painful to get done. It took a while. There was a whole lot going on with these, and honestly, if I told you every single thing, every single issue I had, everything that popped up, this video would probably be like an hour long. So I'm not gonna do all of that, though I will go over the builds and some of the issues that I had that came up that I think are a little bit important to discuss, just in general, or just to get them off of my chest, really, is probably what this is. But I will cover each of these individually, though they do have very similar builds overall, with some minor differences here and there, and I'll point those out. If you are interested in one figure over the other, I will leave timestamps down below in the description, so you can just jump directly to that figure as I discuss it. But I think it would be helpful for you to watch the whole video so you know the nuances between each of these versions. So we're going to start off by talking about classic Harley first. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about classic Harley. I went ahead and put her on this figure stand. I thought it'd be neat to have her in a about to bash you with her mallet kind of stance for this video, and I may actually display her like this in my collection, just because I think it's fun. I mean, she's got to have that mallet, right? But for the most part, we'll have her like this for now. So yeah, classic Harley. All of these builds are relatively the same, like I said, but with some minor differences. So first off, on this Harley, we're going to start at the bottom. You can see her shoes. I had to use smaller shoes on her for reasons that particularly they just didn't fit. Like the bigger shoes, the bigger flats, I should say, didn't fit with these legs. So they're a little bit smaller. They're about the same size as what's on a Blink figure. Yes, there is a difference. And I didn't use the Blink ones. I actually used from a Medusa. So the Walgreens Medusa, that's what these are repainted. As far as the actual rest of the leg goes, let's switch to the red side. You can probably see a little bit better than the black. There you go. You can see that there's a swivel cut right there, because those are the shorter swiveling, calf cut legs. So these are a mix of, because even again the Harley, the animated series Harley, and then this classic one have the same kind of swivel cut leg. But in particular, some of these were like goth boots from like Magic or X-23. Some were from the Kamala Khan or Spider-Girl, whatever. They're all the same. So if they were the goth boots, I dremeled down the goth part of the boot and it just had just regular legs. If not, like from Kamala Khan, they just repainted them, but then added this here sculpt here. You see the red one back there and this black piece right there for the rest of the boot. The knees, so actually going back here, everything else going up on the figure, from the knees, thighs, lower torso, upper torso, arms, and hands are all from Blink. Every single thing. Again, knees, thighs, lower torso, upper torso, arms, and hands are from this Blink figure. For the most part, that's the same thing on the other three, but again, I will point out any, things and any changes that I made. So one of the reasons why I did that is because of scaling. So I wanted her to be a little bit shorter. I do have plans for other characters later on, so I want to make sure that she's shorter than them. Secondly, I like these arms a lot on Blink. You see how muscular and toned they are. You're going to see that a little bit more on the next figure as they've been repainted on that one. But for the most part, these get a little bit better range of motion than your old, single jointed regular Marvel Legends arms. These get a little bit more range of motion, and they are well cut. They're very well toned. Again, more muscle tone and stuff. So that's why I went with that. And then lastly, the hips on this are the pin on the inside where the legs connect. It's a shorter pin on the Blink figure. It's like the shortest one basically that Hasbro puts on their ladies. I swapped that out and went with a Kate Bishop style pin, so something that is a little bit longer, so when I put these legs on, she'll have more hips, so it pops the hips out a little bit more and makes her a little bit curvier. And if I left it like this, I mean, it would still look fine, but I did that swapping the pin out on this figure as well as the next Harley Quinn, the animated series one. But that is it for Blink for the most part. That being said, if we go up more, you can see that she is quite busty. The Blink, I did use the Blink torso, the upper torso for this, but I did add epoxy sculpt to enhance her chest and make it a little bit bigger. I think I might have went a little overboard for what it's worth, but it's not super bad. Especially, like I said, I'm going to make Poison Ivy later on, and I'm not going to need to sculpt for her. I wanted Harley to be a little bit curvier than Ivy. Ivy will still be curvy, but she'll be like more lean and tall curvy, whereas Harley, although not a short person, she's actually 5'6", she's still shorter than Ivy, and I wanted her to be the more curvier of the two. So that's why she has the build that she has. As far as the white goes, on her collar and all that stuff, that's all sculpted on with epoxy sculpt. So sculpted the part that's laying flat on her body, on her chest, and then these balls are their balls, and I just sculpted those separately, sanded them down, and then glued them in place, so that way they were a little bit more secure than just sculpting it directly on her body. I think it would have probably fallen off by now if I had did that. Now, same thing with her cowl. That's all sculpted on, including like the the white balls there. All of that's hard sculpted on with epoxy sculpt. Now, one thing that I did is, you may not have noticed it if you were looking, or maybe you're waiting, or just it's such a minor detail. She's supposed to have like frilly white cuffs on each wrist. I went through so many different ideas on how to do those, but it just didn't work out. And even to the last minute, like yesterday, I went to go get some string to try to figure out how do I do this. And ultimately, I was going to actually like paint some bangles and just call it a day. And after I finished putting this together last night and just been thinking about it all morning, I don't really miss them. Like, yeah, for accuracy, there should be something there on her wrist that's white, and they're like really frilly cuffs. But honestly, I don't miss them. I think they're fine. I think it looks fine without them. And part of me is, yeah, I'm a little lazy and I don't want to do it, but I have been thinking about how to get it done, and nothing's worked. And now that she's together, I kind of just want to leave it the way that it is. I think it looks just fine. So she's not going to have frilly white cuffs on her wrist. So I'll just take the L on that. Now, last two things. Her face, both on this one and the animated series Harley, the head is a black cat head. So I'll just put that picture up here. That head is so perfect for Harley. It is not good for Felicia, but for Black Cat, but for Harley, it's absolutely perfect. The smile is perfect. The mask I did modify here. So the mask on the actual original, on the original Black Cat is slightly different. It has a little bit more sculpt going up. And I just dremeled that down so that it's shaped more like Harley's mask. And that's it, and just repainted everything and then sculpted on top of that. So that is that. I really love this. This is my favorite one, honestly, of the three, but I'll get back to that. This just turned out super good, and I did my best to paint. Her skin tone is an off-white. It's the official color is off-white, and then the rest of this white is just regular white. So there is a slight difference. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but there's a slight difference of the whites. Now, the mallet. Let's talk about that. So the mallet is custom made. I made this myself. It's made with resin that I made my own, bought resin, and I make resin things. Make resin copies of things like heads and stuff. This was very dangerous. This is probably the most dangerous thing that I've done when making customs, and I'm not exaggerating in the slightest. So I could have avoided all of that danger by just hand sculpting it with epoxy sculpt, but the idea was I wanted to not use as much sculpt because I use it so much, and I don't use my resin very often. So I'd be saving money, saving materials, so I'll just use resin. Also, I thought the plastic would be lighter and stronger, more dense, so that way it would be a little bit tougher and not have to worry about it breaking or anything like that. So the idea that the epoxy sculpt would just break easily. So I didn't want to do that. So how did I do this? It is, again, with resin, let's move this here, started off just pouring resin into a cup. You pour it into a mold, but my cup had mold in it already, a rubber mold. The actual cup was like just a big plastic drinking cup, and it came out like this. This is just the bottom of the big plastic drinking cup, and this is just hardened resin right here. I decided to not use this though. This is the first attempt, and you can see how much resin I poured in that cup, and how this turned into that. Well, I didn't use this. When I poured it, I was like, man, this is too much resin. It's too thick. I have a Dremel and a cutting tool, and that's the idea. I was going to cut it down to be the right size, but this was just too much resin. So I decided to try again with a Dixie cup. So the Dixie cup was about half this size, and instead of using this to work with, I use the resin that I poured into the Dixie cup, and that saved me, well, a lot of wear and tear on my Dremel and all my sanding and cutting tools. But it still was a lot to cut and still a lot to sand and Dremel down with the sanding tool. Doing so, it was just again still a very thick piece of resin, and getting it like this was super hard and very dangerous. The Dremel just sliding all over the place. I did make sure that when I was holding onto this, I had a really big wrench that's a really long wrench, so it's not I'm not like holding it in my hand and dremeling or cutting like that. No, I was holding it with the pliers here and cutting over here, so I'm not keeping my hands in a dangerous place, but it was still very dangerous. It turned out decently. Again, this is completely homemade. It's not a perfect shape by any stretch of the imagination, but it is homemade, and I just took every precaution that I could, and I like it. But I would not recommend it to anyone at all. Honestly, like I said, I could have sculpted it with epoxy sculpt, and it would have been a lot safer and possibly even more uniform in shape and stuff. But yeah, that is classic Harley. Let's go on and do animated series Harley. All right, animated series Harley. Absolutely my favorite show on TV right now. Like between that and Spy Family, the animated series Harley Quinn, I absolutely love it. Season 4 just finished a few weeks ago, and by the way, I did meant to say this earlier, and I also meant to look this up. I shouldn't have. I should have. I forgot. The original voice actress for Harley Quinn from the Batman anime series passed away recently, and I just want to just pay some respects to her. I do apologize. I should have looked this up beforehand because I want to say her name in video, and I just forgot that that's something I wanted to do. But I'll add it in post, I guess. And yeah, the me making all of this stuff, the Harley Quinn, is actually a coincidence. I've been, like I said, I've been planning on doing this for a long time, and finally getting around to it. And like, as soon as I started to post the work in progress test fits is when she passed away. So it was like a few weeks ago, literally. So may she rest in peace. All right, so back to it. As far as Harley Quinn goes, for the animated series, this is more or less how she looks in the show. I highly recommend the show if you have not watched it. It is 4 seasons deep. It is incredibly hilarious, and it is Harley centered, and it does have Batman and other superheroes, and Superman and Joker and all of that stuff. So we'll go ahead and watch it. As far as this build goes, we start off with the shoes. These shoes are from the America Chavez from the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Magnus wave. That's what these shoes are. These are resin copies of those shoes. Work perfectly for Harley. These balls on her ankles, they're supposed to be fuzzy, like fuzzy balls on her ankles, just like some fuzzy stuff. Really difficult to do with epoxy sculpt because it's such a hard thing. I did initially sculpt the balls there, and then I glued them onto her ankles so that they are more secure. And the idea was I was going to take, after they were glued on, more sculpt to make them fuzzier, but it just didn't work out because it was too hard to stick more epoxy sculpt that was fresh on the harder, already hardened epoxy sculpt. So I just left them as the balls. So those are the way they are. More swivel cut legs, like I said, the exact same build as the previous one. The only difference is here is the legs are actually the thighs, I should say. They are not the same thighs that are from a Blink figure. They are the thighs that come off a bodysuit. So these originally were the thighs that I had on my Magic figure, my custom Magic from 3 years ago. I am going to remake, so that's why I took those legs and put them on Harley, because she won't be needing them anymore. But they are essentially these thighs on any sort of bodysuited figure. And really quick, another explanation. Just this one has 2. We're just going to go with 2 on this one. When putting this together last night, like literally last night, everything was going well up until I got to this leg here. And for whatever reason, I think this particular one is from a venomized Spider-Gwen from that whole venomized wave that they had a few years ago. Newer Marvel Legends have like a softer plastic for some reason. They changed things up, and for whatever reason I could not heat that plastic up. I mean, it got hot, but it wouldn't take the upper pin for the swivel, and it's only on the side that's black. It wouldn't take the pin back in. No matter how many times I tried for like 30 minutes, it wouldn't go in. So everything else was ready to go and put together on the figure. So, and I had the idea, which is something I'd been kind of cooking with for a while but never implemented, of instead of keeping legs with a boot swivel like this one does, it still does, instead of keeping that, I mean, certainly there are characters that could use it that are athletic, like Harley Quinn, that could use a swivel in the calf, I should say. But this one doesn't have it because I glued it together. I glued the upper part of the leg and the bottom leg of the leg together because of that issue. Like I said, it wouldn't take it. I cut the nub off and just sanded it down just a bit and glued it together. And because I did it really last minute, you can't see it too well, but you can see the cut still. I would in the future consider put epoxy sculpt in there to fill in that line, so that way it blends in better and you won't notice that there even is a cut there at all. That will be the idea in the future, but for a last minute fix, I'm just going to leave it the way it was, and I just painted over any imperfections that were there. So that's why you can see a cut here and you can hardly see one there, but that is that. And going back to the rest of her, there we go. Again, everything's the same as the previous figure. You can see more muscular toning on her arms as compared to the classic Harley Quinn. I wanted her to be more muscular because she doesn't have powers. She's just a really athletic person. So I figure if she's jumping around and doing all this crazy acrobatic stuff, is just because she's a very strong acrobatic woman. So I figured her having some very strong muscle tone made sense to me. So that's why I gave her these arms in particular. Now going to the bat again, custom made resin. This wasn't nearly as dangerous as the mallet, but this is a custom made bat. If you are wanting a bat, I was literally at a secondhand shop the other day and saw the Jigsaw figure that came out, I believe last year, maybe the year before. It has a bat in there. It's much bigger than the bat that I made, but you can use a bat like that. I think possibly the Tracksuit Mafia figures as well, they might have a bat with them as well. I don't have that figure. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if you're really looking for a bat, you don't have to make one. You can buy one from Marvel Legends. They are available. That said, same head, still the black cat, but this one is I dremeled the mask off, so it is the exact same head as the last one, and it looks a lot different. It really does. Without that mask, it looks a lot different. Procreate putty on the bangs here, on the, and also on the ponytail. It's all Procreate putty. Go back just a smidge. Well, maybe you can see it a little bit better. Like, yeah, if you focus right here in the middle, you can also see it here on the back side. This reddish color over the white, you can see it kind of like a faded red right there, and right here and right there. This is just a quick lesson, something I should have done, and I would have avoided this. And it's normally what I would do is when you paint light colors first and then work your way to darker. So whites and yellows, do those first, and all the brighter colors first, and then work your way to darker colors and finishing up with browns and blacks and stuff. That way you can get as sloppy and messy as you need to make sure the yellow and the white look really good, and have enough coats on them, and then use the darker colors to paint more detail and clean up any of the messes, because you can paint on top of the light colors. I did not do that with this figure. I painted the red first when I was painting, and again, I'm not going to go into all the issues of why I did that. I had a lot of issues with red paint when painting all of these Harley Quinns, but I won't get into that. However, because I was using different brands of paint, the red still bleeds through on the white, even though I painted on top of the red, and that's why you see this streak here. It was also on the mallet on the other Harley Quinn, and it's also a little bit on her shoulders up here too. So it sucks. This is the one that I wanted to be my best one, because I really love that show, but it has blemishes. Other than, like, a couple of missteps here and there, I still love the way this came out. Again, sculpted her chest to give her some enhancements, so she's a little bit chestier than a normal blink upper torso would be. Other than that, you can see some more of the red underneath the white, unfortunately. But still, really enjoyed how this turned out. So we got one more to talk about, and that's Injustice 2 Harley Quinn. Alright, so Injustice 2 is a video game. There was Injustice Gods Among Us. I believe that's the full title of the first game. It came out in 2013? 2011? Something like that. I don't remember. Long time ago. And then Injustice 2 came out, I believe, 2015, 2016, 2017, something like that. I don't know. It's been a while. The game itself is not great, but it does have a really good story mode, and some very good character designs, some not so good character designs, but Harley Quinn's character design in that game looks really good. Now, the game itself gives you a billion customizing options for every character, and some characters can actually change into others, like Hal Jordan Green Lantern can be customized into John Stewart Green Lantern. He has completely different voice lines and the voice actor and everything. So it's really cool. As far as Harley Quinn goes, in this build, I wanted to build her exactly the way she is at default. No customizing options whatsoever, which is funny because when I was looking up reference pictures for her online, every picture of her in her costume of Injustice 2, she had elbow pads and knee pads on. At least the ones that I saw. But I actually own the game. I have played the game, and I went and booted it up. It's been a couple years, and I was trying to just check and make sure that those screenshots and those references I found online were accurate, and they're not. Stripping her down to her bare gear, bare essentials, she looks like this. She has no knee pads, no special anything like it. She's more or less almost exactly the way that I made her today. So that being said, I'm going to start at the bottom, talking about her boots. So the actual shoes themselves, I got these from Fina from the Eternals wave. These are resin copies of those boots there, and just painted brown. Then the lower calf is the Goth boots, as mentioned before, from like an X-23 type of figure. But this time they're painted brown, and he looks pretty good. They've only ever been black, and I've never seen them in any other color. So painting them brown, they look pretty good, and it works out pretty well for what Harley has in the actual game. Going back, the thighs again are bodysuit thighs, just like I previously showed, like they Jean Grey. So they do have some nice cloth ripple showings there. You can see a little bit, all the details there. Then I added this sculpt here. You can see the red and the black. That's some sculpt that I added there. As far as the gun holsters and the belt, whoop, there you go. So the actual holsters that actually hold the guns, and they do hold the guns, I will take one out and show you that. So it actually does hold the gun. Actually, I have not put any guns in here at all, but it will hold it. There you go. It's in there. This is actually, like I said, the first time I actually put the gun in there. So it doesn't fit. Oh well. I cut a hole in the bottom of each of the holsters, so I was hoping the gun would go down in there, but that's what I get for not testing that ahead of time. But it still will hold the gun. The gun holsters themselves come from Black Widow Infinity War, that Marvel Legend, and as well as this strap that is going around her thigh, at least half of it. So the way the Black Widow worked is that it had a loose belt that, you know, that wasn't attached to her torso at all, and then it had two straps going down the side of her her hips, and then it connected to the gun holsters on her thighs, which were keyed in. I pulled those out of her. I wouldn't say keyed in; they were glued in. It'd be more, but there was like an indentation for the sculpt for it to be glued into that. So I pulled those off of the Black Widow, and then dremeled down and cut down so that it's more flush. So that, and then I can just glue it onto these thighs here, like so. And then added sculpt, or well, I should say, I took the straps that goes down that Black Widow's side, and that's what you see in the front here, and it's just wrapped around on front and repainted, but it doesn't go around the entire thigh. So the rest of it, I just used epoxy sculpt and sculpted the rest of the band going around her thigh, if that makes sense. And then sculpted some more going up and down her legs there. That's just epoxy sculpt going up and down, instead of making a loose belt, because if it was loose, then she wouldn't have, I wouldn't be able to put it together the way that I did, basically, and it just makes it easier for assembly later on. So the belt is also sculpted on, the corset is sculpted on as well, but just the zippers on the front, and then just the bottom of the corset is sculpted. The rest is just painted on. I forgot to mention also on this one, I didn't make her as curvy. The pin in here is the short pin that normally would go into a Blink figure, but I did swap it out for a black pin as opposed to the purple one that's normal inside of a Blink, because this is purple color. I swapped that out with a black one and then painted this side red, but it is the same length. So it makes her not as curvy as the other two, and I did that on purpose, obviously, because I didn't want her to look as curvy, because I want her to look more game accurate. She's not very curvy in that game. That said, her upper torso I had sculpted as well, so she has her enhancements there. You can see a little bit there, and then sculpted on the top, her upper torso part of the corset. The jacket and the jacket arms are from a White Rabbit, so I took just the top part of the jacket and not the bottom part, so just cut it right in half, and then took a Dremel. You can see the collar right here. I dremeled all of that down so that it's not on our final jacket there. But the arms are from the White Rabbit as well, so I didn't modify those at all. I just sanded those down and repainted them black and red, so they still have all the detail that's normally there on the White Rabbit arms. And then let's go to the back as well. I did paint this symbol on there. Didn't paint it super well, but it is painted on. You can see some back detail. Her back is fully painted even without the jacket on, so she's, you know, it would be too difficult to take the jacket off, honestly, so I'm not going to do that. But it is fully painted underneath there. Going to her face, and now we have a different head. So I actually changed this because I thought the Injustice Harley had a pretty unique face, so it didn't look quite like comic book Harley. So I decided to go with something different, and I ended up actually picking Rogue, of this particular Rogue. So although honestly I think this face looks like that Harley from the game a little bit more than what I ended up painting, I assure you it is the same head, and it could be the hair throwing it off or just the white face, whatever, but it is indeed that Rogue. These bangs are Procreate putty that I sculpted on there. The rest of her hair on her head is hard sculpted, as well as the hair bands are hard sculpted with epoxy sculpt, and the ponytails are actually from a Stepford Cuckoo that I finally finished using the hair pieces for. So it was the blonde one here. She has ponytails, you can kind of see in the back. I used the rest of the hair on this on my Asuka figure from Evangelion, and I kept the ponytails, and that was like a couple years ago that I did that. and finally getting to use those ponytails for something. I could have gone with something a little bit bigger. I could have sculpted the ponytails, but you know, just trying to save resources and use them wherever I can. That said, if you wanted to, you could use these Step for Cuckoo heads, and particularly the one with the ponytails, as a Harley Quinn head with a stoic face. I think that would work, and it would fit on this torso or on any other torso. It would fit just fine. So you could go that route if you really wanted to. All right, for the only figure comparison we're going to do today, we have our pseudo Gotham City Sirens. I don't know every character. I think this is all of the characters with the exception of Poison Ivy and Black Canary, but I could be wrong. Maybe what's her name? Yeah, I know her real name, Helena Bertinelli. I can't think of her actual hero name, but yeah, I think she might be a part of that team too. Either way, my custom Batgirl here, Harley Quinn from the this is Batgirl Burnside, Harley Quinn from the animated series, and my custom black Catwoman. That is nothing special in particular. So I did mention before that I was going to remake these two eventually. That's still going to happen, just not anytime soon. Batgirl does appear like this in the animated series for Harley Quinn. She just has shorter hair, and other than that, she's the same. She just recently, spoiler alert, became Oracle in that show. So at the end of season 4, they showed the Gotham City Sirens forming. Again, these three plus Poison Ivy. And then in the animated series, Catwoman is black. So I am thinking about making a black Catwoman, African American Catwoman, specifically from the Harley Quinn show, because at that point then I would have all four of the girls, because I will make Ivy eventually, and she will have a version from the animated series, probably both the Batman animated series and the Harley Quinn animated series, and then maybe some other versions. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with Ivy, other than making her Harley Quinn animated series version for sure. And then I might go ahead and do that with Catwoman as well. So that way the whole team could be there. That'll be neat. Supergirl also appeared on the Harley Quinn animated series. I don't have that custom available right now, and I'm probably going to remake that one too. But yeah, so yeah, again, you should really watch that show. This is not a paid sponsorship. I just really like Harley Quinn. But yeah, this was neat. I'm so glad to have this. Again, this is the one that I wanted to be my favorite. It's not. My favorite one is actually the classic. The way the gloss looks on that, it just pops so perfectly, and it just fits. It just looks really good. I can't help it. This looks really awesome. And then the issues I had with the red are still there. So yeah, this is my favorite one. I didn't want it to be, but it is. I have to admit it. It just looks awesome. So yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Follow me here, and follow me on Instagram. I am only on Instagram right now. I don't remember if I mentioned that before, that I killed my Twitter account because Elon, but right now I'm only on Instagram and here on YouTube. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. You want to see more pictures, see more behind the scenes things, or just chat with me anytime, so you don't have to pull up YouTube or whatever it is. Follow me there. I'll be posting more stuff of this there. And as far as DC is concerned, I am taking a break. This is it. I am not making any more DC figures for the rest of the year at least. And like I said, I will get to Ivy at some point and remake the Batgirl, remake the Catwoman, and I do want to do Canary and a handful of others, and we'll see how that goes. I still am thinking about making more guys like John Stewart, because he is my preferred Green Lantern. I don't read DC at all, so I don't have like a huge fan base. This is me just making stuff because I want them to compare to the Marvel Legends and have them in scale instead of buying those McFarlanes, because those are way too big and ugly. So yeah, I really just making just choice figures, choice characters, and not really going for the whole spectrum at DC. Oh, you know what? The next thing I'm making, I completely forgot, is definitely Wonder Woman. If you've seen the Power Princess Marvel Legends, I, just like everyone else, am inspired to make Wonder Woman. I've already made one, but with that head sculpt and those arms on that Power Princess, I may not do the exact build. I might still use my own build, but I'm definitely using their head sculpt because it's literally Wonder Woman. And I am going to make quite a few Wonder Woman when that comes out. So I wouldn't say early next year. At some point next year, after that figure releases and I can make some resin copies of Power Princess, then I will absolutely be making a handful of Wonder Woman customs. So it's going to be really awesome. I can't wait for that. I'm super excited for that. Make sure you're subscribed for that. But in the meantime, I am going to be taking a break from DC. I'm going to go back into, what am I making next? Oh yeah, she's actually right here. This. Not this one though. This is the X-Force X-23. I'm going to be remaking a couple. The original one that I made years ago needs a remake, and then I'm going to do a new costume for her from that same era. So that'll be coming soon. I don't know how long it'll take for that to come out, because Spider-Man 2 is coming out next week. I don't know why. I'm going to be playing the hell out of that game. So yeah, I'll see you next time. I think this will be the only video for October. Maybe if we're lucky, I can squeeze in that X-23. So see you next time.